Excuse me, I've been waiting in this line for 20 minutes. Why are you so slow?
Take two.
That's the reason I can, hold on, let me get my break. I can't do this type of stuff because I'm laughing, you know.
Hey, take your book.
Okay.
Take two. Let's start again.
How the cashier, they on the computer, they do it.
I've been waiting in this line for 20 minutes. Why are you so slow? Huh?
Why don't you join another line if you're in such a hurry?
Excuse me?
Cut.
Don't they have a window?
Cut. Let's talk about that situation. What did you guys see there? Sharon?
The student had an attitude with him, came up to the window or what have you, to the cashiers, and the cashier, this little cashier lady, she didn't care. She was doing whatever she was doing on the, what was it?
I was, you know, I guess doing some charges, some receipts I had to print out, tuition,
Okay.
housing, you know.
So the way she responded to this negative response, was that the way, I think that's acceptable. No? That was a negative response. All right, let's go with scene 2. Same scenario. A student has been waiting for 20 minutes from the cashier line.
Seriously, I had to wait in this line for 20 minutes, and why are you so slow?
I am so sorry you had to wait 20 minutes.
You still not answering my question.
All right. Okay. Now, let's talk about what just happened. Okay, same scenario. The student did come up, said her piece, like she was waiting in line, and she responded, "I'm sorry you had to wait late."
It was sarcastic.
It was sarcastic. What was wrong with her body language?
Yeah, her neck was rolling, her shoulders.
Yeah.
But she said something positive. I'm sorry.
Right,
Didn't
but still, it was all,
Body
it
language
wasn't, body
So,
language.
Do you see? You have to be mindful of what you say, how you say it. Scene 3. Look at you. Hey, listen, let me tell you guys, sometimes it's too hot. You remember last time?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I know. I'm sorry.
Hi, may I help you?
I've been waiting in this line for like 20 minutes. Why are you so slow?
I can see why you feel that way. And please accept my apologies.
It's not a problem. I just been waiting so long.
We'll see what we can do.
All right. Okay, so what was the difference in the way they interact with each other? The customer,
They were both respectful.
both respectful?
You know, even her approach might not have been that well, but the cashier was very calm and very welcoming in their apology and, you know, also just like follow up, like, we'll see what we can do about that, you know. So you wait.
Yeah, you have to be able to diffuse the situation.
And sometimes we don't realize, just because you were hired here as a transcript specialist or whatever, you have to take on counseling role, parent role, you mamas, daddies, whatever you want to call it, and stuff like that. So, just to see the action, it's not about what you say, it's how you say it and how you deliver the message that gets the point across. So like, because she responded in a positive way to the student that could have came up to her with an attitude, because you know, I've been waiting this line for so long, and for you to just be calm and positive the way you respond to that person diffuses the student from then reacting. Because these kids now, you're not going to embarrass them first. No, I learned that. Yeah, you don't, no. No, you're not. So, here's one of the things. It says, there are times when students contact the office, this is another situation, via email, on the phone, with rude, entitled, aggressive behavior. Don't respond in kind. So, be mindful of how you respond. Also, ask yourself, is there another way to continue this conversation? Switch from email to phone. So, I know sometimes when I'm emailing people back and forth, let me just pick up the phone. Because in our customer service workshop, we're gonna be dealing with that because I've received 3 phone calls from 3 different departments, from 3 different levels of authority in regards to how people email each other, how people talk on the phone, how they address that. So that's why I said the customer service is not the same as last year. It's revamped to add in a bunch of concerns that were given to me for me to deliver to this campus. So be mindful of that. Sometimes it's easier to just pick up a phone call because the way I might say, Candace, I need to see you in my office, might be read differently on her point. And be careful with caps, because caps means you're yelling. And some of these students don't know that I was mentoring, or I am still mentoring a student that's now transitioning into college, and when she texts me, it's all caps. I text her back saying, you need to take the caps off because this sounds like you're yelling at me. But they don't know that, so if we don't teach them this and talk to them about that, how do they know? So be mindful of that, all right? This is one of the things that I learned as a teacher, where it's the sandwich effect. And how does this work? It says the sandwich effect starts with a positive approach or comment, then gets to the issue problem, then ends with something positive. So, I know we all have our issues with these students that we interact with. So, how do we start off with? So, for example, I might be dealing with some faculty members that didn't do what they were supposed to do and all this kind of stuff and all the issues. So, you start off with something positive. I really appreciate the way that such and such and such, but let's deal with the issue. Now, here's what's going on. How do we react to this? And then end with da-da-da, let's follow up, da-da-da. I really appreciate the way you said it. So, can you think of maybe a scenario how you could maybe use the sandwich effect, start with something positive, then deal with the issue, and then end with something positive? Can you guys think of a scenario that you can use that you've done one way, but maybe now if you use this approach, it probably would have helped the situation better or going forward? Ms. Pep, okay.
Well, I was just gonna say, we can always let them know that we appreciate that they're taking out the time to resolve that problem at this time, and to give them some suggestions
And one thing about giving them, let them give you the suggestions. Turn it over on them. Be mindful what you apologize for too. I was told, if somebody called A&M and they were treated wrong or whatever, apologize for how they felt and all that, because be mindful of what you take responsibility for in your apology. That's one of the things, because you can be held accountable for, because now, well, you said, so, yeah, so be mindful of how you apologize for certain situations, especially when it's not your fault and all that kind of stuff, because then you now take ownership of it. So you can apologize for the way they felt and all that kind of stuff, but try to be mindful of how you apologize for situations that happen across this campus, because they will hold it against you. All right, so this is the sandwich effect. This is something that you can probably take into consideration when you're dealing with parents, faculty, staff, students, and all that. Start with something positive, then deal with the issue, and then come down that way. I have a story. I had a parent that came to me, and we're talking about their child. Child was one of the best children in my class, but I love him to death. So before they came in, because I had to call him in, I said, well, I really appreciate the way Johnny helps out in the classroom. He's one of those students I can ask when I leave the class, da-da-da. But then this is what the issue that we have with him. You know, he talks a lot, da-da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. But maybe, and then end with something positive. So the parent doesn't come in because not another teacher getting on me about Johnny. Because it's frustrating to hear all the negative stuff. So try to find something positive. Good luck sometimes in some situations. But think about how you can find something positive first, then deal with the issue, and then go forward. We're going to take a break now for you guys to get your lunch, and then we're going to go into crisis. I like this picture right here. We have lunch back here. We have turkey, roast beef, and ham, and then we have a vegetarian. And I'm going to start with Sharon.
The student not getting their way.
Student not getting
the answer that they want.
Answer that they want. And their way. So I get it here, and this is what I want, and then I need to make sure you get in my way, because then if you don't, give me that customer service thing, because now I'm going to complain because I didn't get what I want. And that's the thing, like when we did individual department customer service, and we handed out a customer survey for students and people to answer, I saw a lot of negative. I said, be mindful that we don't look at that as harsh, because we know everybody's quick to complain, but we don't ever hear really too much about the good side. Like Sharon, I came in there and I appreciate the way Sharon helped me. Even though I didn't get my response or my answer, I was able to still leave being satisfied, knowing that, okay, there's something I can do better going forward or something like that. So it's not always about fixing their problem, it's how you handle it. That's the issue. Okay, let's hear another one from this table.
Lack of attention or not listening to them. I mean, sometimes you just don't stop and hear what they have to say.
I want to piggyback on that as well. The staff's attitude, faculty attitude. I won't just speak for staff, but I work with staff. So just in our office, everybody doesn't have a good day. However,
Is there napkins and forks back there too? Yeah, and.
Yeah, I have my own.
Okay.
I have my other boxes.
Please, just a little extra one. Thank you. Oh, teacher asked for your plates and stuff for the fruits and cookies for this afternoon. Make sure you cut that. All right, Miss Beth, sorry about that. Oh.
no, but that's how, you see how I just cut you off? That's how we used to.
Oh, yeah, you're right, because I felt kind of bad when you cut me off. Kind of like that. That was kind of hard. That was good role playing right there. Because I got the point of that. All right. I was like, your name is Beth.
Piggyback on what Ms.
It's all
Beth just
piggyback.
said. Some years ago, I had a part-time job, and it was taking inbound calls, all that stuff you see on TV. And so they would record you and call you in and talk to you about it. And I'm thinking I'm doing a great job. They called me in one day, and she said, "Your voice is so harsh." I said, "Really?" She said, "Listen." She said, you're taking care of the customer. She said, but you have such a harshness in your voice. She said, and you don't even realize it. She said, you need to learn to smile when you're talking. And I'm thinking, she's great. And but the more I listened to it, I could see it, and people, that sets a bad tone for people when you're just, like Ms. Beth said, you may not cut me off, but you just maybe, no, that's not how we do things here. No, the policy is. You have to learn to soften it up, and some people don't have that smile in their voice, and they're just, real direct and real harsh with it.
It's true, because I know sometimes I can be very forceful when I say certain things. And so sometimes I have to tone it down because I can be a very dominant type of person. So it's just the way you deliver it. And I might be very pleasant, but my body language and the way I'm looking at you and for real.
Yeah, you really do. Because you have to think about it. I had a situation yesterday in the office, and I had to keep telling myself, I'm nice. I'm nice. I'm doing this.
I want my job. I have mortgage to pay. Do not punch
the
that
person wouldn't even sit down. They were just standing, and I kept saying, okay, I'm going to do this. So.
It's true. I had an individual come when I worked in the graduate office, and they came in. And I have to say my personality allows me to say some stuff that probably other people won't allow me to say. But they came into the office upset. And I don't deal with that because I didn't do it. And they said, I said, first of all, I'm going to give you a second chance to check yourself so you can walk outside and come back in. And then we can deal with the issue because I didn't do anything to you. And they didn't go outside. They said, I'm so sorry. And then they broke down and started to cry. I said, Lord Jesus, please don't stop crying up in here. I don't deal with what tears because I'm going to cry too. So I'm like, let me just make them calm down. I said, well, what's the problem? I said, have a seat because they were breathing short too because we were on the third floor Patton Hall. Oh, and the elevator was out again. So they had to walk up those stairs. And they were sweating like, where were you running a marathon? No, because remember, you can't drive around on campus, so they've been walking around campus. So these are all the things that you need to observe when people come into your office. So I said, have a seat, catch your breath, and talk to me when you're ready. They said, this is the 5th office I've been to on this campus. I went from here to here, and they're sending me everywhere besides where I need to be. I said, well, what's the issue? And they said, XYZ, this way. I said, hold on. I called the department. I said, where does it say, not here, where do they need to go? They need to go here, okay, let me call here. I call, da-da-da, okay, Is this where they need to be? Okay, what, okay, who is this? Okay, I'm sending, what's your name? This is where it is. I walked out of my office, I had to put my shoes on, because I don't like to wear shoes in my office. I had to put my shoes on, take them to show them out the window, to show them which department asked for this particular person. This is they're expecting me. It took me, I think, not even a minute. But when I tell you they thanked me, and they were just from that one thing. But one of the things you don't see, when students come to your office, did you observe them? You just, in your own little world. Because you're doing your Avon order over here. Right here. Or you're on Facebook and you turned your screen and you're not even paying attention because you saw that one pop and you're like, yeah, what's your problem? Yeah. And one of the things I always think, and I'm guilty of it sometimes too, is the way I would want to be treated. And so you go into a store and you walk in, and now I'm a very stickler for customer service. Everywhere I go, I'm like observing everything. Any interaction in a restaurant, in a hotel, anything, I'm observing, because that's my, ooh. So how would I want to be treated? When I walk into an office and I see somebody on the phone, regardless if it's personal or business, even if you said, hold on, ma'am, I'll be with you in a minute, if you can just take a seat. And if you can wrap that conversation up, wrap it up, because that person is face to face. If it's a conversation that needs to be dealt with right there, say I'm dealing with this conversation in about 5 minutes. That right there already, you won that customer over. If they're angry, they'll give them time to cool down and all that kind of stuff. But that's one of the steps. So any other major issues that you see that housing, your page must be full.
Wow. It is parent concerns. Most of the time, the parents that we have here, they look on their students' accounts, and it might be a fine or a charge out there from them living in the halls. It could be fire alarm. It could be anything, cleanliness, any of those things. So of course, the parent calls the student first. That's all they do is find us. You know how A&M is. Mm-hmm. So when the parent calls, that is the first thing they say. I done been at A&M, or and y'all do the same stuff, just trying to get these students money. And you're like, ma'am, actually, let me look and see where, in the student's file, where this charge is coming from. And I think that because I've been kind of proactive with finding students, because before I got here, hall directors or anybody would find a student and never talk to the student about the fine. It was just like, okay, this is my third time checking that room. Okay, I'm going to put this $50 fine out there. And so there was never any communication or education, and that student never really understood. But because our office is proactive about it now, and I said, I'll look at their file, and there'll be a paper here. I met with the student on this day. I said, so, look, Bobby never told you what the fine was for? No, he just told me that y'all been pulling fire alarms, and that's why he got a fire fine. I said, no, ma'am, on April 3rd, Bobby actually covered his fire smoke detector with a plastic bag so that he could smoke a Black and Mild that day. Oh. And that is the reason for the $125 fine. And on this day, hard director this. Right. You know what, Ms. Hines, thank you. I'm going to call you right back. Thank you. Have a good day. But I think it's the approach. Sometimes, sometimes if I hear it or I see it in my office, I address it right then, and it's not, the approach is not right off the get-go. I say, can you put that on hold? Okay, I know what you're saying is, very much correct. I'm not going to take that from you, but it's the way you're saying it. And then they'll just like look at me, and some people, again, coming in younger, and you take it on a higher level role. It's not really
and who are you to tell me?
Yeah, and it's kind of like, and then I say, well, we can handle it like this, but if not, I'm gonna need to document this. Because, you know, that just goes back to who's accountable.
Keyword document.
And so, and then they'll get back on the phone and it's pleasant. But I think a lot of times you just have to explain yourself, and you might be explaining yourself over and over again. Like people in the office always say, you come in with this bubbly personality. I have to, because you have to smile and you have to be bubbly, because you have to understand, and like I tell them all the time, I have worked at 2 other universities with great facilities. Great facilities. So you didn't have to work hard on the customer service end, because these students were coming in brand new facilities and they were happy off the jump getting. But you have to give them something else. And you know, so I think you have to lead by example, and sometimes you have to explain yourself. Sometimes you have to go far above, and that's what I have to do. Hold man while I go get this file. And sometimes it's not even what they want. It's still not good enough, and they still want to talk to your supervisor. But like I tell my staff when we have meetings weekly or bi-weekly, is that you want to feel like you did everything you could to either assist, help, or explain to the customer what needs to be explained. And I think that the staff even, you know, some of my staff in my office didn't see the students as customers. They see them as children. And so sometimes you have to help with the language, like, you know, the children, that just, I couldn't.
And they're not children. These
And
are
they're not
adults.
children, they're young adults. And I said, well, let's say the student, because they are a student here. But that just makes me cringe, because it's like a hierarchy. Like I'm up here, you're down here. And like you have to talk to people at their eye level. And sometimes you have to come down and talk to them at their eye level, but whatever the case may be. And those are just some of the
But
things.
I think one of the things that I like is when, as a leader that we have in here, is that how at the end of the day you have to model and show your staff how you would like your expectations for them. So for example, I'm coming from elementary education, and the first thing we did was make up what's the rules within the classroom. What do I expect from them? Here's what will happen if you do not do what we said we're gonna do in this classroom. And then we practiced it. So Miss Cyrus is one of those people, I'm a stickler for walking down the hallway quietly, because we have to understand that there's other classes going on. So the first couple of days we practice walking down the hallway. Now if you make a sound, even if it's just one person, we will start again. And if we start again, that means we're going to be practicing during recess. And then obviously, you know, sometimes we have to set an example, because one person did mess up. But, no, it's okay. We got time, because they're rushing off. No, because recess, we're going to be practicing how to walk in these hallways. And you break them in. I'm letting you know, we did have students crying for the first 2 weeks, but that's okay. Afterwards, it was all settled. And they said to me, you have such a perfect class. How do you, because you have to, if you don't tell me how you want me to behave, believe you me, I'm going to act a nut. I'm serious. So as a leader, you need to set your expectations for your staff. You need to train them. For example, I might think I have, like you said, you thought you were doing very well. You thought you were coming in there for her to give you praise, to say you did well on that call. No, ma'am. Listen to how you sound. So as a leader or people in those type of roles, you need to train your staff on the expectations that you want for them, and set that. So here's some other reasons why people will get lost. So it says, frontline staff are often faced with challenge of effectively calming upset students, parents, faculty, staff, etc. They may want paperwork answered within 24 hours. But company procedures may have a turnover of 48 hours. But that's one of the things. Did they know that there's a turnover of 48 hours? No, they don't. So when I come in and when I bring in a document, if it's not documented or shown on the front of my door when I walk in, when you bring paperwork, it's a turnover of 48 hours. But when I come in and bring it in and say, here's my paperwork, and they just walk out, I don't let them know. This will take approximately 48 hours to turn over. You might get it back sooner, but I'm letting you know it takes up to 48 hours because there's other paperwork coming through. Did they know that? No. Sometimes they don't. Other things, many clashes with expectations between the company and the customer, which results in customer dissatisfaction. So this is what the company says, or this is what A&M says, this is what's in the policy, and this is what's in the procedures. But as a student, this is what I expect. I expect that when I come into this office, my issues are going to be dealt with right here and there, and I'm going to get everything going. But company policy and procedure says this. this is what I want. So that's sometimes a disconnect. So
Sometimes, a lot of things, I will also say is things that are done on the back end. So a staff, like an office will feel like something was wrong, but we have to fix it on the front end. So what I try to tell my staff is, you might not like how it was done on the back end, but on the front end, that student still should be satisfied. I'll give an example. Last week I was out of the country, and so I had my staff, handle the things, and of course, I do micromanage, I'm working on it. And so, it was, a student came in from DC. And, I hope this is a safe zone, so you cut this part out of the video.
all right, make
Okay.
sure she said it.
So, when the student came in from DC, the student came in that Sunday evening. So that student needed housing Sunday evening, because they flew in Sunday. So it was like,
Or 10 years, I don't know how long it's been. But when you give that feedback regardless, the positive one, like if somebody's doing a great job or did something for you, just for you to say, great job, and you don't even have to be a supervisor to do it. As colleagues across the border, you can say, hey, I really appreciated how we da-da-da. That one thing builds the relationship and connection with your office for you guys to function wholeheartedly and get stuff done. All right? So that was just my little plug there. All right, let's go into the crisis mode. All right? So one of the things, and this is why I like to separate, and people hate when I do this when you come in here and sit at different tables, we don't get to interact with a lot of people on this campus. So whenever I do workshops like this, I like to split people up so you can get different points of view, because just like when we're going around the table, Miss Betts would say ditto because she already said it, and you'll say it because it's ditto. You guys are in the same office, so let's spread out and make connections across this campus. So different offices are going to have different ideas about what creates a crisis. Police and ambulance are in waiting room. Presidents and dean comes into waiting room. Students punches a wall. Student slams the door out of the way. Copier is broken. Office manager is out sick. So you see all these different things, what builds up into what happens to going to the police office and all that kind of stuff. So different crises happen within different departments. Because I saw Miss Williams looking at Miss Hines, and she was talking about some of the stuff she was going on, because she's like, Kelly, I thought we had it bad over in the registrar's office. But that's why I always tell Miss Hines, can you give me one? Because I know her list is very extensive on some of the issues that she deals with, because her office does something different for this campus, but we're all needed on this campus. Okay? So, dealing with any crisis situation requires the staff first to calm down and keep a cool head. I think we add oil to, or what's that saying? To the fire? Add
yes,
yeah, that. Whatever that.
I couldn't even think of it.
I couldn't. But we honestly, the way we react to situations determines a lot of the outcomes that come across this campus. Regardless if we're dealing with students, faculty, staff, administrators, and so forth. So how we deal with the situation obviously can either make the situation worse or make it better, okay? To do this effectively, please don't personalize your frustration. And that's one of the things a lot of us tend to do, because we're human. A student comes in, you need to, and you come back with, excuse me? Natural reaction, okay? So don't personalize your frustration. They aren't doing this to annoy you, sometimes, let me say that. You are the front door to answering their problems and questions. So when I come to you because my faculty member says I can't register because the registrar said to them that da-da-da-da, I'm gonna come to the registrar's office as a student to say, well, they told me you. Who? Who's you?
right.
Me. Yeah. So be mindful of that. It's not about you. It's sometimes they're given, and that's why I also tell people when you are transferring calls, warn the person on the line first. before you open them up to some angry stuff, that they're prepared. And we don't see how that one thing of, Ms. Williams, I'm transferring a student into you right now, they're very upset because so that you can then pull their record and be prepared for when this person comes in. A lot of times we're blindsided by issues that come in, but one of the things I learned from Dr. Stewart is whenever a student comes to her, what's your A number? Let me pull your record. Then we can deal with the situation, because I don't know you, I don't know what's going on. So having a background of the situation helps, but sometimes you're not gonna always get that. So that's one of the things. One approach that can help is found in cycling and breathing, one of those things. Sometimes you might see me say, woosah. I watch a lot of movies too. I also say, Amnyo Rengekyo, I don't even know what that means, but I just saw it. But those are some things. So what might be a crisis for one office might be a normal day for another. That's it? She had a problem with that? Oh, that's simple. Okay? So be mindful of that. Students coming in crying, give them the time to calm down, then talk to them about what brought them to you. When a student comes in frustrated, whatever the case may be, you know 9 times out of 10 they probably have to walk this campus because they can't drive and it's so hot or it's so cold. Either way, what conditions they're in. So be able to observe the person you're interacting with too. Also be mindful of special needs individual. That's something that we don't address a lot. But kids coming with different issues beyond what's happened in the classroom or what somebody dealt with, that's just how they are. And so when you come at them in a certain way, you don't know that that's something that is really, so those are some things that we do have to touch on as well. I want to work, and before I let you go, Sonoya Williams.
Yeah.
If you don't know her, you need to get to know her. I don't know if she's done it, but I was supposed to work with her to deal with our vets and how we interact with our vets as well on this campus. But we have to be mindful with how we treat the people coming into your office, because you don't know what their situation is. And you don't know that one interacting with you could send them overboard to do something more. Oh yeah, I also was a bullying intervention specialist as well, and all that self-esteem, peer pressure. Yeah, so that all. Yeah, you on your hand.
Yeah, we are dealing with a lot more students who have autism. And so one of the things that I've been doing is just during weekly or bi-weekly meetings is just letting some of the staff know that because a person doesn't give you eye contact or some of those things on how to deal with some of these students who might have that problem. A lot of them do have autism. So that is something that, even talking to Ms. Williams, we're having a lot more students with some issues and even, ADA issues that she didn't even see 5 years ago. And now all of a sudden that she's seeing it, so we have to be accommodating. So we have to make sure that we still inform our staff or give them some literature on how to look up these things and how to be mindful of those things as well. Look me in the eye, son. Some of our older, HDs, and when they approach, young men, it's like, you being disrespectful. And then it's like, after the fact, it's like, well, this is a student with autism, so they're not going to do all those things that you feel like they should do, so.
But I like how you said you take the initiative, and this is, when I say our leaders, your role in what you do is so vital for how your office is to be ran. If I've never been trained, or I'm hired, but you don't provide training for customer service, you don't give them opportunities for dealing with different types of students, because it's not even about autism, ADHD, all that kind of stuff. Everybody has different learning styles, and I get that from teaching too. But you have different learning styles, the way people interact with you. I might be a hands-on type of person, I might be a visual type of person, so what type of style are you interacting and talking to these students with? And one of the things we have to take out of mind, I say it too now, because you know when you get to a certain age, you want to call these children, baby. They're not. These are adults. That's what they are. They're young adults. But we tend to want to go into that mommy mode and when I didn't come here for that because I'm grown. I'm grown. So that's one of the things we have to be mindful of. It says, we are all one step away from having a crisis as well. So be mindful and non-judgmental. Be mindful and non-judgmental when we are confronted with it from someone else. I always laugh when I see how when I interact with people on this campus, and then I see how they interact with other people and expect to be treated differently because do you not know who I am? But then they treat them like, can I say crap? Can I say that? I don't know. But they don't treat them well, but they expect to be treated because, and I know some people, depending on what your rank is, expect a lot more. And I'm one of those respectful type of people, but then I realize we all put on our pants the same way and all that kind of stuff, and you're not going to disrespect. But, you know, be mindful of that. So that's one of the things, being non-judgmental when you're dealing with people that come into your office, because you don't know what they've been through, what crisis they just came out of, what issues they're dealing with outside of, because remember we're talking about these first generation. When I did my counseling at Johnson, everything that I thought was normal, I had to wipe it out. Because these kids are coming to me at 17, 18, 19, in the 10th grade, third strike, coming out of detention hall. If they mess up, they're out. They need this. I'm supporting a girlfriend that's 22. In my mind, I'm like, what's a 22-year-old doing with you? You still in school? But I think, oh, this is their world. I am now 13 and I'm pregnant, or I'm this age, and I have to take care of my younger siblings because my mom's on drugs. So you don't know what type, where, and you can see our students. That's where we're getting them. So you have to be mindful of how you interact with these students because of what they've had to deal with. You don't know how you're going to set the tone and set it off. So that's why front line, you guys are the people, before they go to Miss Williams, before she has to see them, before they come to Miss Hines, we are the ones that they have to diffuse the situation before it gets. Sometimes they don't even have to go to them. So be mindful of those type of stuff as well. So, it says, this is an activity I saw. And this is one of the breathing things that sometimes breathing, the oxygen kind of calms you down. So what I'm going to ask for you guys to do, you guys don't laugh, calm down. I'm going to ask for you guys to all close your eyes. And I can see y'all. So how many fingers am I holding up? 9. I knew it was smart. All right. So I want you to breathe slowly, and I want you to count to 4. Breathe slowly, breathe in, and count to 4. You can all do it right now. So breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, and count to 2. 1, 2. Breathe out slowly, and count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath and count to 2. Breathe in slowly and count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath and count to 2. 1, 2. Breathe out slowly and count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath and count to 2. 1, 2. You guys can open your eyes. Sometimes you have to have these moments when you've already reached your point. And some of your offices are crisis office, registrars, housing, registrars, housing, financial aid. Those are crisis centers. That's what it should be called, crisis triage centers, because you guys are the heartbeat of A&M. You guys determine whether a student leaves or stays, because you guys hold a lot of power in your hands. So you're going to come with those students that come in there with all types of issues. So how do you deal with that? You just dealt with one. Let me go breathe. Woosah. I mean, I say it a lot. woosah. You watch, what is it, Bad Boys, and he rubs his ears and he's there, woosah. Just this to take the time and breathe and do that type of exercise helps calm you down and prepares you to deal with the situation, because you have to make sure you're mentally prepared to deal with another student coming to you with the same issue and you know they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And you guys see it every day because I heard all y'all's issues. Okay? So use this in different situations to help calm yourself down. Okay? The driving motivation for most upset people is fear. They're afraid they're going to fail a test. They're going to fail. They're not getting forms on time, maybe even be forced to leave the college. So you don't understand and they lie to their parents. So I had a parent, I heard a story. 4 years later, the parent is calling to say, I haven't heard from my child to say when is graduation day. Keep in mind, the child's been here for 4 years, the child is still a sophomore. Excuse me? So, we have some professional students here. So be mindful of when that parent calls you, because students do lie. We do. I ain't gonna lie, I used that race card so many times when I didn't get what I wanted, because I went to all-white school, so you can. So students do lie, tell their parents' situations. So sometimes we get on these parents for certain things, but don't realize what their child told them. So take that into consideration. Understand where they're coming from first, then you can be more effective. That's why my boss, she always looks up their A number to see their grades. So if a student comes in and says, da-da-da-da, let me check your grades. If this is, you kind of have to kind of sift out that information kind of stuff as they talk to you. Listen, then listen some more. Tell them what they just said. So that's just paraphrasing when they talk to you and tell them what they just said. And then listen to make sure you got it right. This is stuff I even learned in counseling techniques and stuff. You can think they come in handy when you do certain things outside of your job. But this is some stuff that you guys can help diffuse a lot of the crises that are going on in your office. Understand the content. What is being said. It's not how they're delivering it. And this court is going to be the death of me right here. But it's not how they're delivering it, but what are they saying? Process it, and how is it being said of the conversation. So sometimes they come in there with an angry voice, but be mindful of what they're saying. So listening to what they're saying. Spoken. I need to take care of this today. I can't wait a week to have this problem solved. I don't have any choice here. I want to speak to your supervisor. Candace, didn't you say that I want to speak to your supervisor? Spoken, unspoken. I'm going to be kicked out of school. So this is what they said. I need to be taken care of today, and this is what's going on. But unspoken, I'm going to be kicked out of school. Okay? By responding to the unspoken message using communication, staff can match the question being asked and better satisfy the student with their response. Too often we focus our response directly back to match the frustration and anger of that student, that parent, that faculty member, that staff member that came into your office, and try to focus on the worry, concern, and frustration underneath. To convey says, seek first to understand and then be understood. Seek first to understand, then be understood. Okay? That's cognitive psychology if you need to know. All right, so you want to know what's going on underneath the content. So it's not just about what they're coming in and saying and all this kind of stuff. What is the content behind the message that they're trying to deliver? Find ways to respond to the underneath message. What is really going on? Okay, so with this crisis, it says, start with a calm mindset and develop a rapport. And that's one of the things we don't realize with these students. When you develop a relationship with these students and not look at them, and that's one of the things that historically black colleges are losing, which is what we were founded on, is the relationship that we build with our students when they come to you. We're losing that. And I've had in situations where people did come into the grad office and was complaining. I said, well, then go to that school. They went to that school, and then they came back to A&M because they appreciated the love and the concern, because they're not just a number, and they valued that. So if this is what they value, why are we not giving that to them? because that's what historically black universities are founded on. Okay? So start with a calm mindset and develop a rapport. Realize the way you see things isn't always the way things say. Build a bridge between you and them. And this one thing right here, it's not even about students. It says try to connect to the students by building a connection and try to see things through their eyes. Because you know when you were a student how it felt and how you went through all this kind of stuff. So be mindful of that. So building a connection, and this is one thing even too on the faculty side I see, we have to build a connection with faculty and staff as well. And making sure that what is said on the staff side and on the administration side is being relayed in the classrooms as well. Because sometimes the faculty members might say, oh, and send the students over here to the staff members, and then it's on the staff. But then the faculty members should have never done that. But they just wanted to pass the buck and make it not be their problem, which is what we tend to do a lot. All right, so remember what I said. I said, remember the way we see things is not always what we see. So, in your workbook, page 9, I want you to jot down, page 9, what this is. What do you see? It's in your book on page 9 in your workbook. You don't have to say anything. I want you to write down, what do you when dealing with and respond appropriately to this person and their status and the situation. So sometimes be mindful that the VP comes into your office and might have an attitude. Don't, yeah, because, you know, that's your job sometimes. But be mindful of who you're talking to and how you say it and in what capacity you're saying it as well. So you don't have to take abusive behavior and stuff like that, but you can address the situation in a respectful way still, okay? But remain respectful. I think that's just, I can't say common sense because sense ain't common. So, dealing with difficult people may stretch your ability to still be respectful towards them. You may find the constant you may find the constant barrier of students, parents, and other annoying and frustrating, but remember, being rude and disrespectful only demonstrates the lack of control on your part. Lack of control on whose part? Because at the end of the day, remember, they have it in their mind, and I remember I was told this working in a gas station, the customer is always right, negative on that. Oh, sorry, remember that, Candace, negative on that, yeah. But they're not always right. But remember, you're here to service them. So regardless of whatever attitude they come in with, remain respectful, because remember, you're here to service them. So you don't have to get to their level and get all loud and aggressive like they are. Work on providing good communication. Not just communication, good communication. Effective communication is always important, but never more so than when you are dealing with a difficult person. Many times an argument will develop because of communication breakdown. When someone is talking, listen carefully and make sure you understand that person's point before you respond. Likewise, make sure the other person understands your own point. I mean, that's why I don't do arguing, because a lot of times when people are up here, they're not listening. So that back and forth, because all you're waiting for is that person to stop talking so you can say something when you're ready, because you didn't hear what they're saying, you're just ready to talk. So work on providing good communication. When you first look at that picture, what do you see? Resolve their problems, not yours. Keep it to yourself, because remember, it's not you. And just jot down. Recognize that not all situations are the same, and therefore not all remedies should be the same either. Don't allow them to engage you in an argument. All right? What did you write down? Some of these people come here. A duckhead, what did you see? And you ain't gonna get me before I get you. So how do you deal with that? Okay? Don't engage in an argument with students or others. What'd you see? Even if you're right. A duck and a rabbit. What'd you see? Somehow you'll end up being wrong. A duck and a rabbit. Don't overpromise. When I looked at this, I was like, to go into that. It looks like, what the? And I was like, but look, quack, quack. Some people might see it. But look, there's the rabbit. You see the ears? And I put on my pointer. Right here. This is the ears, this is the eyes, and this is the mouth. If I can go back, you see right here, this is the duck, the beak, the eyes, and this is the head, the back of the head. Going forward, this is the ears of the rabbit. We don't put this on pause. We got a few minutes. So I want you to share what you think this tells us. It says you might see it as a rabbit. Somebody else might see it as a duck. The way they see the situation, emotion, anger, feelings is different from the way we might see it. Okay? So the way they see a situation might be different from the way we see it. For example, fast food checks. Being used for rent, when it should be used for what? School. Not our issue. That's not your problem. Regardless if I take $1 million in loans, why is that your concern? I'm actually going to be working concerned with my issue as office because let me see what's the whole. You know when you do one workshop around here, not they think you shouldn't be paying rent. That's so he didn't come to. There's a Google form that you can use to do that. Understand where they're coming from and get on their level when it comes to my Google workshop, which will be in July. Because remember, we're here to do service the students. This will be going hand to faculty and staff. You sure can. Okay. You sure can. So. Steps. All right, so don't overpromise there's a car accident. Under delivery. Yes, you will be. And now we're going to eyewitness. You see. What did you see? I saw a purple car hit the green car. What did you see? I saw a red car hit the green car, which hit the purple car. What did you see? I saw the alien come down. Be sure to one situation seen through different eyes. All these notes, so that's one of the things when you're interacting with people that come to you, be mindful of where they're coming from and not judge them on that and think, well, I know I would have done it. Document abusive, aggressive, so be mindful of that. So, steps to diffusing document abusive and aggressive disruptive interaction on page 10 and 11. You don't realize this sensation saves a lot of the student away from the crowd, especially HR. HR should be on your speed dial. You know, that. First of all, when they come in here with their attitude, and then you want to check them in front of their peers, oh no, you're not going to embarrass me because they're going to embarrass me first. And tell you some words that you probably never heard and never expect to come out of a child's mouth, and you're like, did they just say that to me? So one of the things you have to be mindful of is not embarrassing them in front of their peers, colleagues, or whatever the case may be. I mean, that's so easy to do, but so get the student away from the crowd. Step 2, begin with a positive statement, not a negative one. Constructive, all right? So here's one of the things that they did talk about this is respond with confidence, way and compliment, help them redirect to their feelings to help create a preventive, explain caring in documented issues in a neutral and reflective way without sarcasm. You don't have to answer right now. If you cannot think of it, I know Ms. Hines thought of it. I'm not going to put you guys on the spot, but this is something for you guys to take that it's out there on the web. What are 3 things that you can put into place in your department? Because one of the things that we have right now, how do you prevent the situation from happening? The documentation, you guys already talked about, that's what we asked, what are your problems, what are people coming into? So there are all these situations that you guys come in, and it's not what's happening today, it's stuff that's happening over and over and over and over. These are repetitive issues. So if you know that these are issues that are coming to you, what can you set up in your department to prevent a lot of these things? I think that question and answer, honestly, is the best thing you can have. If you put it on your webpage, if you have a manual in your offices where they can pick up a question and answer.
It's not that they're
If
addressing
it's
you in front of
available
the crowd,
wherever you
they
can
come
get
in
it.
with the crowd, and
I
then
think
when all of them
every
come to your
single
office, it's like,
department,
so
think
everybody
of
has the
questions
same
that-
question. I thought I was just seeing what it's
Well,
saying.
if it is, let's deal with y'all one-on-one.
Yeah, one at a time.
Think of it, yeah. So one of the things, I do SPOL and that's why we have to break down the software before I unleash it to you guys, because I already know the questions you guys are gonna come to me. So I make sure I do all that. You guys think it's, if somebody comes to you and you follow that and this is what it is, and they still want to take software and can give keys and all that kind of stuff before you give them. So I know I did what I was supposed to do, because I don't look good in orange, so think of that in your office, these things before you unleash and open up your office with its registration. And you know all the comments, all the concerns, everything that's gonna be happening. Mindful of that, so that's why document, assess what you did last year in situations that you was there something you did individuals. Other things, explain that their present behavior is not to their best interest. So for example, so one of the things that they did talk about is, and when you see the actual webinar for the student follow up, but when they come in with those hard attitudes, your supervisor, yes, it can be a teachable moment to let them know that, but before you tell them what they shoulda, coulda, woulda done, let's diffuse the situation, talk to them about the issue, and then afterwards to help our students. You know what, next time when you have this issue, it would be better for you to come in it this way. All right, and let them know, teach them, the webinar that you guys will be sometimes they come from the webinar where that's all they know, actual PowerPoint as well. And when I raise my voice and do all this, I get rid of webinar too. And then we have access to additional, going on my tangent now, where they go to schools and if their kids didn't get that A, they go to the teacher and what are they teaching their kids? That when I come in here and rant and rave, you're gonna give my child an A. So then they come to college and think, when I rant and rave, I'm gonna get A when you didn't earn.
Make it mandatory, would be nice.
Yeah, so be mindful of that. And then ask how we can work together
You did a good job.
to solve this problem. Let me tell you, give them, okay, let me tell you a story. So when I first started teaching, you know it's their fault, and we don't want to say we know it's your fault. But how can you turn it over and turn it into a teachable moment and then let them resolve it? Okay, I understand that you can't come in at this time. What times are you available? Okay, I'm gonna clear my calendar just for you because you said this is the time you're available. Put it back on them. Oh, for real? Huh? Watch how quick they're like, huh? Yeah. let them be responsible for their learning and how situations are gonna turn out, because then you'll get a better result. Because it's not, well, you told me I needed to, no, because you came up with this suggestion yourself, I just helped guide you through it, that's all. Okay, so that's one of the techniques that you can think. So use down the line after. Use down the line after they have calmed down. So calm them down, and then listen. Stay calm, remain positive, and handle the situation. Listen, stay calm, remain positive, and handle the situation. All right. Now we're going into the what to avoid. Are there any questions so far in regards to the customer service, crisis, all that kind of stuff? All right, so these are just some stuff from the webinar that was in there, since I had an EMT instructor once who shared some sage words, wisdom with me. He said, if it feels good to say, for you to say to a patient, probably not the right thing to say. So, oh, I know, and we all know we got this. Sometimes when I talk, I have to say in my mind, don't roll the neck, don't roll the neck. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work all the time, but you know you can get back at these students when they come to you with something, because, child, I've been around there. I know I can break you down now, but obviously I'm not here to do that right now. So, so be mindful of what you say. I always tell people when I'm upset, let me calm down, because I don't like to apologize. So let me choose my words wisely when I come now and talk to you about the situation. So sometimes you have to, when they come to you, okay, give me a minute, and you think about it before you bolt out something that you know you can't take back as well. Okay? When I saw this, I thought this was so funny. It says, don't put up passive-aggressive signs. They are annoying and don't get the desired results. Do not put anything on top of this refrigerator on things. And then there's one that says, that there was one about the cell phone. Please get off the cell phone. Da, da, da. I will not deal with you. So many signs, so many signs, so many signs. And you know what happens when they say rules are meant to be broken? So be mindful of when you put up certain things like this, because when they come in, they're over real. And then you might get that one that's not even paying attention and all that kind of stuff. Are you not going to serve them? Because they're going to test you to say, oh, so what? You're not going to serve me when I have this phone? And I want to test you to see what's going to happen. So be mindful of the certain signs that you put up that can get a result that you might not be expecting from a student. All right? Don't repeat the same bad pattern over and over again. If you are having the same problem, look for a new way to solve it. Too many people in the waiting room. The one thing I love about financial aid, and we get on financial aid, when Mr. Jackson came in, when I say I was so annoyed, and I asked, why is it that when I come to the library, I mean, it's ridiculous. It smells, it's just all these people. What can you guys do, such and such? And he worked, I don't know what he did. We're going to have him leading our conversation in the fall about leadership and what he did to come in and deal with that. But now I don't see, I was like, when I walked into work around, I'm expecting to see, I don't see it. So what did he do to cut down on that? Office locked, early mornings, people waiting. I know we have office hours, but don't forget we service graduate students as well. So what does your office have in place to deal with those students that come in here from 6 to 9? Because I work from in the morning and I'm a graduate student. So what do we have? Are we going to come in earlier to help them? Are we going to somebody that can stay later on certain days? I don't know. Miss Williams feels like, huh.
I don't know either.
But these are things we have to think about. Honestly, if we're that campus that's servicing students all hours,
That's true.
I mean, how can we be that type of campus if we're not open to help those individuals?
And this is actually the first campus where I have been, and there has not been a late night for offices like admissions, registrar, and financial aid.
But I'm not saying to, you know, that you can't do that because it's your department. I'm not trying to, but I mean, these are things that you need to think about. And even I've seen offices, Miss Betts.
We're trying to improve technology, so we don't have to do
that's
that.
what I'm saying. So if you're not going to be the manager are there, what technology do you have in place to service students? So I'm not telling you to put somebody in here from a certain time, so Ms. Betts, don't worry, I didn't tell you that. But I'm saying, what do you guys have in place to service those students that come in from 6 to 9, 6 to 10? That's what they come here, that's the only time they can come here. They can't get off work, they can't do this, all this kind of stuff. So the time that they have to come in is why they're here as grad students, they take those classes. So what services do you have set up for that? Bad transfers on the office line. If I get one more call, is this such and such? No, they transfer me to you. Why would they transfer? I mean, seriously? So, I mean, obviously I say that in my mind, I don't say that on the phone, but I'd be like, well, what department are you looking for? And if I know the office number offhand, or let me find out for you, and then let me give you the number and transfer you or whatever. So, yeah, how do we avoid that? Don't just transfer people just because it's not your job. I'm calling for financial aid. This ain't financial aid. Quit. Oh, sorry. Can you transfer me to financial aid? Can you give me a financial aid number? I mean, I know you're not an operator, but I mean, it's not that hard for you to just give me a number.
I mean, that's what I want to say.
Well, no, don't transfer me to that number. I want to speak to a live person. Okay, hold on. And then you call like everyone, and then you say, okay, I got you. That's great. I have a parent on the phone, and so I'm gonna transfer them to you. Can you please answer when you see my number again? And so that usually works.
But sometimes you might have to make a couple of calls to find somebody, and if you don't, you can relay that message to say, you know what, I tried all these numbers. I'm gonna give them to you as well. Leave a message or whatever, and then follow up with it, because, you know, I try to call and nobody's there at this time. They're probably out to lunch or in a staff meeting or something. But that could be the case sometimes. But, you know, bad transfers. Ooh, what's up? So.
And normally I just tell them, may I have your number? It's doing registration. It's going to take me a minute to get in touch with that department. So, let me call them, and then I'll call out and then come back.
Yeah, a lot of situations can be diffused by one step of somebody taking that step just to either make a call. And that's why I always tell people, build a relationship. Like, I might come there and harass registrar's office. Like, I always make it a duty, whatever floor I'm on in that building, everybody in that building gonna know I'm here, because I'm gonna go around, because I stay in the LRC a lot, so when they let me out from time to time, I don't know how to act. So building that relationship helps diffuse a lot of situations that you can call on people. Okay, so that's one of the things. Just because I work in the registrar's office doesn't mean I can't talk to people in the financial aid office. And not even across like that, outside of your unit. Academic affairs, having a relationship with the faculty members and all that kind of stuff. The deans, the chairs, and all that kind of stuff. So building those relationships. So before we close out, there's some techniques in responding to challenging people and situations. Now, obviously, when we give these techniques, it's not to say that once you try this, again, let me put this disclaimer out, it's not going to always work. But these are some things that you can follow. These are also located in your workbook, but I'm going to give you some additional information to add on with your techniques. Technique number 1. Stay calm and remember it's not personal. When a student, parent, coworker, or faculty member comes to you angry or upset, remember that it's not a personal attack on you. Let them talk about the issue, not only to get it off their chest, but also to be able to thoroughly explain the problem. Listen carefully. You cannot adequately address what you don't understand, so be sure to ask enough questions to learn what is bothering them. I don't even need to, anybody want to make any comments on that one? Yeah, listen. And when they come at you, it's not about you. I mean, unless they personally interact with you and you guys had an altercation, that's a different story. But 99.9% of the time, when they call you, it's not about you or dealing with you. It's an issue that they want addressed, so they come to you a different way. Listen with both your eyes and ears. Listen with both your eyes and ears. If you were to ask, what should I concentrate more? The words someone is saying or their body language? Which one would you guys say?
Body language.
Body language? Because 9 times out of 10, their body language, I might be happy, but their body language is saying something different. The answer is always to focus on their body language because this makes up over 70% to 80% of how human beings communicate. Okay? Listen with your eyes to the body language of the other person. It will tell you so much more about the true meaning behind words that another person is using. In the same way, check your body language, what you're communicating to the other person. So, I told you, first of all, don't come in. So, you have to be mindful of the way you say things. We had that reenactment in scene 2 where the person said, I'm sorry for your wait. That sounded nice, but the way they said it and their body language told that student something differently. Okay? You do not have to accept abusive behavior. I don't do it. I've worked in jobs where I used to work in a cafeteria at Oakwood, and yeah, I've had many jobs. But when I was working there, one of the students came up to the line and was very rude to me, and I told them, you know, I don't appreciate the way you're talking to me. I'm going to need for you to change your attitude. And they continued to, well, I'm going to ask for you to leave and go to another line because I will not serve you in this capacity. And he's like, well, I need to see your supervisor. Now, because my supervisor knows who I am, he came out and he said, well, what was the problem? And I told him, he said, well, did you such and such? He said, yes. Did you apologize? No. Well, I'm going to need for you to move to the next line if you're not going to apologize for what you just, I'm not going to accept it. And I don't feel that anybody should accept abusive behavior, but it's just the way you handle it. So, immediately draw boundaries when the other person chooses to be aggressive, argumentative, loud, or disruptive is an unacceptable way. Always remember who you are